Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another journaling video. Before we get into it, please ignore the weird shadows going on here that I'm demonstrating right now. I am working on revamping my tripod so that works better for filming on my desk, and I don't have a new tripod yet. I am still using the same one I've used for years, so for now I'm filming on the floor, hence the really strange shadows, but I hope that they're not too distracting. But wanted to mention that before we jump into the video. So hey, hello, welcome. It's been a little while. I think it's been almost a month as of time of filming, and the last video I filmed was a updated bullet journal setup video, and spoiler alert, that journal setup has not been sticking. I am going to change up the journal that I'm using again for July. I have a plan. I'm waiting for the journal and I want to kind of have all the pieces before I show you what I'm thinking, but I thought for today what we would do instead, in kind of prelude to that video, is I wanted to go ahead and flip through all of the journals that I've used in the previous 6 months of 2023. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of do this. I thought I would flip through, show you guys the pages, talk about what's been working, what's not been working, why I have 3 journals for 6 months, like what is happening right now, and why like this year has just been like so chaotic overall, and I'll get a little bit into that. But first, let's just do some good old journal flip through-ing, and I'm gonna show you guys the different pages that I created in my journal. So before I start, these journals are all A6 Stalogies, so they're about 4x6 size. So at the beginning of the year, I started this journal. Actually, I started this journal in December of 2022, but I'd set it up for the beginning of 2023, just including the last month of the year because I wanted to change. So I consider this to be the first journal of the year, even though it did start 1 month before 2023. But at this point, when I set up this journal, I was at a place where I was about almost 6 months into a new position. It was my first job where I'd been working in a corporate environment, so a much bigger company. Previously, I'd been freelancing, and I was still kind of finding my way around how I wanted my work life and my personal life to fit into my journal as I was still adjusting to my position as a designer. So at this point, at the beginning of the year, I thought that I wanted to separate my work and my personal and put them into journals to create some boundaries for my life. So you will notice right away this journal is all for personal. And part of why I started the year in an A6 size journal was because I was finding that because I only put personal stuff in here, I didn't really need a lot of room every day because I didn't have a lot of stuff to do outside of work compared to how many things I had to do while I was working. So I thought the A6 was good. It's small. It's a really great portable size if you're going out and about, which I work from home, so I was not, but still, it was a really nice journal. And at the beginning of the year, I kind of had this like moon phase theme going on, which was kind of cool. And I set up a bunch of spreads in advance. I created a calendar page for all of my events. I had a task list, and then kind of the consistent thing that you'll see throughout all my journals is I have a kind of day per page, daily page, and I pasted in these. These are from the Sora calendar. They're a much bigger piece of paper, but I just cut out the actual moon phase on the days where there was these cool illustrations. And I would just kind of do a traditional bullet journal daily log. Besides the part where I wouldn't put one after the other, I would have one per page, but I would use the signifiers and just kind of list my tasks and events all together. And this worked out pretty well. But by, I think it was March. Yeah, you'll see in March. By March, I was kind of thinking about being a little more, not even creative in my journal, but just wanting to add in more things from my day. I wanted to add in photos that I'd taken on my phone. I wanted to add, business cards and tickets and receipts. And at this point, I was thinking that I wanted to kind of adjust my journal so that it was still a planner and organization tool, but also somewhere where I could capture different memories and write about my day and kind of have that mesh of a memory keeping journal and a bullet journal / planner in one. So in March, I started experimenting with adding some more stickers, adding little journal entries to my daily logs, and also adding photos like this. And around the end of March, I decided to start a new book because I just wanted a fresh start. I wanted to start a new book with kind of this new approach to my system, with planning and memory keeping kind of combined into one. And I just wanted to kind of start something fresh and start that kind of new system with a new book, which is what I did with this book. So this book is what I like to call my chunky boy because he is, actually this one's kind of thick too. Let me find here. So it's normal, chonk, and super chonk. This is what Astrology normally looks like, and then this is with some stuff pasted in, and this is with like a lot of stuff pasted in. So my second journal of the year, this guy, I started in April, and when did I stop this guy? Maybe June of this year, maybe not even. Let me see. I actually backfilled this a lot. So I added pages for January through April in my monthlies, and you can see I started adding a lot more stickers. And with this journal, what was different right off the bat was I actually set up all my pages in advance. So I made all my monthly calendars at the beginning of the year. I created these kind of monthly dashboard pages at the beginning of each month. And then I would have my dailies following directly after. And between each month of dailies, I would have this monthly dashboard. So I remember once I finished setting up this journal, I was so over creating journal pages, and I was glad that I didn't have to do that for the next 6 months. But I did really enjoy when I was in this journal the fact that I didn't have to set up pages. They were all created for me, which was really nice, and I could just focus on journaling about the day and adding in my photos and receipts and stuff like that. And I added in all the photos and all the receipts, and I added a bunch of stickers. I mean, for me, I know a lot of other people like to add more stickers than this. As someone who had previously done very like pen only planning, this was like, whoa, we are like stepping out and adding a bunch of stickers. So for me, this was like, really going for it. And I had a lot of fun just, pasting in different things about the day. I'd like created a digital printable here, so I pasted that in. I would actually write in when I watched movies how the star rating I gave them, which is kind of cool to look back on. I pasted in stickers from orders, receipts. This was from a sushi restaurant. This was a snowman that I built, and I kind of would write journaling entries and connect them, and it was really creative, and it was really fun. And I had backfilled this the entire beginning of 2023, so it was like a little project. It was really fun to kind of chip away at it every day. and work on it. And I really liked just collecting all of these things and pasting them in my journal and just kind of having it together with my planning. And as I hit March, I started to realize, because the end of March and the beginning of April, this is actually one of my favorite pages that I did. Yeah, so once I hit April and I was actually caught up, I'd filled all of the spreads and I was now journaling in real time. I began to notice that my journal was getting really chunky. And at this time, I'd actually started using the back of the journal around here to add kind of notes and other collections in the back that didn't fall on a particular day. So I had like Stardew Valley stuff here. I made a bunch of maps for Breath of the Wild, which was actually so fun. But as you can see, each of these maps is a piece of paper. And I quickly realized that my journal was getting ridiculously chunky. And by the end of April, I don't think I even pasted in that much stuff during the month, because I was realizing that my journal was just getting so thick and it was becoming a bit difficult to write in. At this time, I'd bought a pencil board to try to help with that, but even with the flat pencil board, you still kind of had all of this notebook to try to write over. And by the end of April, I think maybe beginning of May, yeah, maybe around here, May 15th, no? Let's see here. I think it was around here because I'm writing notebook prices, which is usually a sign that I'm gonna planner hop. Let's see, around June, I decided to move into a new journal because it just was getting kind of unwieldy, and I thought, you know, I'm gonna be going into a new journal in July anyway. This was only intended to have 6 months of the year, so maybe I will switch into something else. And at this time, I was actually thinking of buying 2 notebooks, 2 half-year Stalogies, which are half the amount of pages as one of these, which has 368 pages. And I was thinking I would buy 2, one for kind of my dailies and monthly pages, and then one for the notes, so that I could hopefully reduce this unwieldy bulk. And I thought about that, and then I just didn't like the idea of having kind of 2 books and trying to write with 2 books and then having to bring them around. It didn't really make a lot of sense for me. So then I set up this notebook, which was my 3rd Stalogy, and I started this in June. At this point, I was feeling a couple things. One, even though I'd set up this journal at the beginning of March, I was still, I think, like reeling from all the time I'd put in creating the spreads, and I just wanted to create something really simple. I didn't want to have to do hand lettering and anything beyond pen and pencil, so I wanted a really simple setup. That was the first thing. The second thing was, I at this point thought, you know, pasting photos in my journal is great, but for my bullet journal, which I do need to plan in, it creates a lot of this bulk, which isn't really helpful. So I was thinking I would set up another journal for memory keeping, make this fully focused on planning, and that would be good. And then the third thing I was feeling at this point in June was I was coming up on almost a year at my job, which is a designer, and I was starting to get to the point where it's been a year. I was feeling really comfortable. I was really loving the people I was working with and my work and all of that. And at this point, I wasn't really feeling the need to separate my work from my personal life anymore. I kind of wanted to just put it back in one book and make it simple, have everything in one notebook, not having to deal with multiple books. So I thought, okay, I'll have one bullet journal for everything, and then I'll have my memory keeping journal for photos and journaling about my day, and I'll separate it out that way. So I created this future log at the beginning of the book. I did my monthly spreads like I had before. And for these, I actually set up each month as it went because I thought that would help, space out the setup time. And then I just started daily logging. And some of these will be blurred just because this is now work information that is in here. And it's kind of funny because sometimes you think you need a change, but then once you do the change, you start missing the way things were before you changed, and that is exactly what happened for me. I had gotten to the beginning of July, and I'd set up my monthly spread, and I'd started daily logging, and I really missed not having my memory keeping and journaling about my day and my photos and my receipts in one book. But I was also at a point where I didn't think I could put them back in here because one of the things I noticed with my Chonky journal was because I knew I wanted to paste things into that journal, I would subconsciously hold back from writing everything down that I had to do because I wanted to leave space to paste in receipts and stickers and things like that, which makes sense for memory keeping, but isn't ideal for something where you want to just be able to write down all the things you have to do, remove it from your brain, put it on paper. And for me, because I have I'm not good at remembering things if I don't write them down, I was starting to forget things because I wasn't writing them down. So I think it was just a stage where for everything I wanted to do on a page, the A6 size was feeling a bit small, and I just didn't have the real estate to write down my to-do list, journal about my day, paste in photos, and keep it all in one book. So I stopped using this journal around the 13th of July, and I realized I needed to make some changes. So I don't think I'll get into that in this video just because I'm waiting for the things to come and for the things to be here so I can show you, but that's kind of the journey that's happened across the year. And I think sometimes it can be discouraging for us planners and journalers when we have a bunch of journals that we've used throughout the year, and we can be a bit hard on ourselves about why we weren't able to stay consistent. But for me, at least, it's not something that I'm holding against myself because throughout the last 6 months of the year, my life has changed a lot. It's been a huge adjustment period, being in a job that is super wonderful and amazing, but also my first corporate position. Previously, I'd just done freelance, and I realized that it's really hard to know what you need in a journal when you don't even know what you need in your life because you haven't even finished adjusting to that life change. So during this time, I was adjusting, and as I was figuring out and getting comfortable in my job, I was also figuring out and trying to get comfortable in my journal. And I think we're at a point now where I know what I want. At least I hope I know what I want. But this was kind of my journey the past 6 months. The chaos, the planner hopping, all of it. I hope you enjoyed seeing all the pages. And I should be back next time with my Techo Kaigi for the rest of the year. So I hope you look forward to seeing that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, everybody.